Hi, you must have heard about the new movie Napoleon, directed by Ridley Scott, and maybe you don't know enough things about the historical figures depicted in this historical drama. The scenario is written by David Scarpa, and it is based on the story of Napoleon Bonaparte, A Life by Andrew Roberts, which Scott claims to have read and been fascinated by. The movie primarily depicts the French leader's rise to power, as well as his relationship with Empress Josephine, played by Vanessa Kirby. Joaquin Phoenix stars as Napoleon in a performance widely praised by critics and audiences alike. Here are some facts and curiosities about the film that you might find interesting. Let's start with the facts. The movie is not a historically accurate recount of the life of Napoleon Bonaparte. A lot of things from that era are hard to confirm, but those that are already considered historically accurate are not a constant presence in this movie. You should take everything with a grain of salt and check real history books if you want to learn more about this massive important character in the history of the world, especially of France and Europe. The film has a budget of $200 million, making it one of the most expensive films ever made by Scott. Scott is known for his epic historical dramas, such as Gladiator, Kingdom of Heaven, and Exodus, Gods and Kings. He is not praised for his historical accuracy in any of those, so don't expect him to be here either. The movie was shot in various locations across Europe, including France, Malta, Italy, Spain, and England. The film features some of the most famous battles in history, such as the Battle of Austerlitz, the Battle of Waterloo, and the Battle of the Pyramids. Even though it does not focus on the real strategies of Napoleon, it is interesting to read more about the way this fantastic leader managed to change the way wars were fought before his time. Also, the film manages to enforce the gruesome effects that war had on soldiers and those close to the battle scenes, the futile loss of lives of generations of young people for purposes that most of the time escaped their understanding. Scott uses state-of-the-art visual and practical effects to recreate the historical settings and characters. The film also uses real-life props and costumes from the Napoleonic era, some borrowed from museums and private collections. The film has a runtime of almost 3 hours, making it one of the longest films ever released in theaters by Scott. It has been praised by critics for its epic scope, stunning cinematography, thrilling action sequences, and powerful performances by Phoenix and Kirby. The film has also been criticized by some historians for its historical inaccuracies of Napoleon's life and legacy. It has been nominated for 10 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Adapted Screenplay. Now, let's focus on some interesting curiosities of the movie. Ridley Scott has been interested in making a film about Napoleon since he was a teenager. He originally planned to make it after Gladiator, but the project was delayed due to various reasons. Joaquin Phoenix has been attached to play Napoleon since 2020 when he met with Scott and Roberts to discuss the role. He spent months researching and preparing for the role, learning French, riding horses, and studying Napoleon's mannerisms and speeches. Vanessa Kirby was cast as Josephine after Scott saw her performance in The Crown. She also learned French for the role and wore contact lenses to match Josephine's blue eyes. The film is dedicated to the memory of Stanley Kubrick, who famously tried and failed to make his own Napoleon film in the 70s. Scott told The New Yorker that he was once sent Kubrick's unused screenplay, but he found it underwhelming as it covered Napoleon's life from birth to death. This might be one of the reasons Scott's film narrows in on Napoleon and Josephine's marriage and doesn't try to meet all expectations about the life of the emperor. Scott also tried to highlight the complex relationship between the two main characters and how it influenced his rise and fall as a leader. Joaquin Phoenix wore a prosthetic nose to resemble Napoleon's distinctive features. Vanessa Kirby learned French for her role as Josephine, who was born in Martinique and spoke with an accent. The movie features some of the most spectacular battle scenes ever filmed, using practical effects and thousands of extras. The movie is based on a screenplay by David Scarpa, who also wrote the script for All the Money in the World in 2017, another Ridley Scott film. The movie is not a biopic that covers Napoleon's entire life, but rather a character study that explores his personality, ambitions, and flaws. The film can be divided into 3 acts: the rise, the fall, and the exile, each corresponding to a different phase of Napoleon's career. Ridley Scott depicts some of the most important events in Napoleon's life, such as the French Revolution, the Italian campaign, the Egyptian expedition, the Battle of Austerlitz, the Peninsular War, the Russian invasion, the Battle of Waterloo, and his imprisonment on St. Helena. Some of the key figures in Napoleon's life depicted with great details are his brothers Lucien and Joseph, his marshals Ney and Davout, his rivals Talleyrand and Barrot, his allies Cesar, Alexander, and Blücher, his enemies Wellington and Nelson, his lovers Theresa, Cabarrus, and Marie Walewska, and his children Eugene and Hortense. Let's focus now on the historical goofs that most critics highlighted and made Scott going mad about it. Actually, Ridley Scott told off the historical fact-checkers who criticized some of the details in the movie, saying they should get a life, and for the French ones in particular, that the French don't even like themselves. Some of the most historical inaccuracies or liberties that were critiqued are the scenes where Napoleon is meeting Marie Antoinette at Versailles. They never met. Josephine being present at Waterloo. She was not. Napoleon being poisoned by arsenic. There is no conclusive evidence. And Napoleon, being shorter than average, he was actually above average for his time. Also, Marie Antoinette was executed at Place de la Concorde, not at Le Palais des Tuileries, and Napoleon wasn't there to see the execution. At 49, Phoenix is too old for most of the movie. Napoleon was 24 at Toulon, 27 when he commanded the army of Italy, and 35 when he crowned himself emperor. A Belgian flag is seen in one of the battle squares, but it was not created until 15 years after Napoleon's final defeat at Waterloo and 9 years after his death. For most of the movie, French military appears to calculate distance in miles. For example, during the build-up to the final battle at Waterloo, soldiers update Napoleon as the location of the Prussian army, indicating they are 12 miles away. France, by this time, had adopted the kilometer. During the Battle of Waterloo scene, the Prussians arrive at Wellington's right, west. They actually arrived at his left, east. After being defeated at the Battle of Waterloo, Napoleon surrendered to the British on board HMS Bellerophon. Although he received many guests, he never met the Duke of Wellington face-to-face in real life. During Napoleon's campaign in Egypt, the top of pyramids are seen to have been targeted by cannon fire. There is no proof Napoleon's army targeted the pyramids. Napoleon himself was a great admirer of ancient Egypt and its pyramids, and would have unlikely ordered its targeting. In conclusion, Napoleon is not a faithful representation of the historical facts, but rather a cinematic vision of the legendary figure and his tumultuous relationship with Josephine. The film offers a stunning spectacle of war, romance, and drama, with superb performances by Joaquin Phoenix and Vanessa Kirby. It is a movie that explores the human side of Napoleon, his ambitions, his passions, and his flaws, and how they shaped his destiny. So don't forget that Napoleon is a movie that deserves to be seen on the big screen, not for its accuracy, but for its artistry. If you like this material, don't forget to subscribe for instant access to more. Don't be shy on thumbs ups or with the sharing button. Thank you for watching, and have a great time seeing the actual movie. Bye for now.